guests, ladies and gentlemen, Botenabino, welcome. We are delighted to have you here, all protocol duly observed. My name is Madeleine R. Uk-Drc, and I'm honored to chair the Uk-Drc Business Partnership Consortium Roundtable for Day 2, focused on investment, financing, and practical partnership delivery. We would like to open with a word from our organizer, Jean Bosco Kanyemesha. Will be followed by an introduction to the chair. Then we will hear a word from Honorable Baroness, and then we will have the day. I will go through the agenda for the day so everyone is on the same page in terms of what's going to happen. And we thank you for your attention, for your interest, and for your partnership. Jean Bosco?
Thank you, Madeleine. Good morning, everyone. Dear Baroness Verma, Your Excellencies, officials, esteemed members of the corporate community, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Congolese and African diaspora, again, good morning. First, I would like to thank the Almighty God for granting us the strength and the opportunity to make this a moment which is really possible. Today marks the launch of the first roundtable conference of the Uk-Drc Partnership Consortium. This consortium is a result of 6 years of dedicated work between the DRC and the United Kingdom. It has been built through the collaboration of key companies like represented by Vodacom DRC and the Fund for Promotion of Industries represented in this auditorium. As well, key institutions like the Ministry of Foreign Trade of the DRC and the Ministry of Industry. During this year, we established our presence in Kinshasa, which wasn't easy, and developed a strong relationship with the Federation of Enterprise of Congo, creating a solid foundation for future cooperation. At the same time, here in the United Kingdom, we have been privileged to receive the invaluable support of Lord Lister, Baroness Verma, Lord Popat, who today serve as patron of this important platform. Our ambition is clear: to create a strong ecosystem and build lasting commercial relationship within a shared economy based on mutual beneficial, which is a win-win partnership. We firmly believe that the United Kingdom, as a global leader in the financial service, can play a pivotal role in supporting the development of the DRC economic system. Therefore, everyone present in this room is essential. Your expertise, your network, your investment and resource are critical to making this partnership a success. Over the past 3 years, we have organized several missions from DRC to the UK along the way. But we face numerous challenges, from visa constraint to limited engagement from both the public and the private sectors. These obstacles have tested our resilience. However, today marks a turning point. We are committed to addressing this challenge by bringing the British government and political stakeholders into this partnership, with the ambition of positioning the DRC as a priority partner for the United Kingdom. Our objective is to strengthen existing investments and unlock new commercial opportunities that will contribute to building a dynamic and sustainable economic system. To accelerate this momentum, following this event, Our advisory board will engage in working with us and trying to engage closely with the Departments of Business and Trade, the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, and key private sector actors. Together, we will work to remove those barriers and promote policy reform to enhance economic cooperation between our countries. We believe that it is in Britain's strategic interest, particularly in today's multipolar global landscape, to diversify its trade partnership, move beyond traditional relationship, and adopt innovative approach by investing in a fast-growing economy of the Democratic Republic of Congo. In the spirit, we invite you all to join us in June for the Uk-Drc Business Partnership Consortium mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where we aim to facilitate concrete deals and strengthen economic exchange. On this note, I would like to thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean. Your Excellencies, Honourable Ministers, my Lords and Baroness of the House of Lords, Honourable Congolese Government Advisors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Wonderful, that's a lot better. I am Jacqueline Onalo, Kenyan British and a great friend of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It is my pleasure this morning to introduce you to Madeleine, who will be our chair for the day. I'd like to just give you a brief background of Madeleine. So Madeleine Uk-Drc is an assistant professor and PhD candidate of Cambon School of Mines, the Environment and Sustainability Institute, and the Sustainable Future Business School at the University of Exeter. She serves as a board member of the UK Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative and is a board member of Women in Mining Africa. She's of Guinean heritage from the political Susu lineage of the late Alami of Orokai Fode Toure and His Royal Majesty King of Morea Dauda Toure. She brings deep expertise in Western Central African diplomacy with government and traditional authorities. With over 15 years of partnership with K&G and British Award for African Development, formerly at Chatham House and Ernst & Young, she has been recognized for her contributions as an ESG champion and being a responsible natural resources governance leader. Her research and lecturing focuses on social impact, mining industries, public policy, CSR, government relations, compliance, and integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in the very capable hands of Madeleine. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline, for such a wonderful introduction. I will be delighted to introduce you very shortly for your panel. Today's program is designed to move us beyond introductions, obviously, towards implementation. We were going to focus on bankable projects, financing opportunities, trading frameworks, transaction structuring, private and public partnerships, models, risk mitigation, that's my big focus, mining and security reform, along with the role of the diaspora in strengthening UK-DRC relationships and cooperation. As you have heard from Jean Bosco, this will be continued in the DRC this summer, and we hope to see as many of you as possible at that event with the government of the DRC. We are very pleased to welcome our distinguished principal guests and speakers, including senior representatives from the DRC government and diplomatic corps, members of the UK House of Lords, members of Parliament, if they have come with us today, sector leaders, industry leaders, whose presence reflect the seriousness and the shared ambitions of this partnership. We are very grateful for your attendance and for the commitment each of you bring to deepening UK-DRC relationships. For those of us who were at the reception yesterday, we were very warmly welcomed in the House of Lords. It was a cordial, convivial, and very high-level networking opportunity to hear from Lords, and the Baroness, and members of the DRC diplomatic community. And we are continuing this today with a more concrete event. We are very grateful for your presence. This event matters because it provides a structured platform to connect policy with capital, diplomacy with delivery, vision with practical deal-making, and we are also involving the DRC diaspora community here. We have a number of leaders, cultural leaders, social leaders, political leaders, business leaders from the DRC community based in the UK, and other diasporic African community members, including people like myself who are from other parts of West Africa rather than Central Africa, but we are watching what's happening with the DRC, and we care, and we want to see this happening and evolving in the best possible conditions for all stakeholders, especially for the people of DRC. We hope that today's discussions will strengthen institutional ties, unlock investment, and help build durable, sustainable, and equitable economic and development partnerships between the United Kingdom and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for believing and investing your time, your energy, your finance behind these projects, and we look forward to very fruitful discussions today. The ministers who are unable to join us, they send their regrets. We have had some visa challenges in getting people to come to London, which is something we hope to facilitate with forums like this, that the UK government will recognize how important it is to facilitate visas and to help, and between both countries, to ensure that high-level representatives can attend events like this. We want to see more people, scholars, business leaders, government officials, traditional authorities, community leaders, be able to cross borders to have these types of discussions so we can strengthen our partnerships. So His Excellency Justin Kalumba Mwana Ngongo, Minister of Industry, unfortunately was not able to join us today, and he does send his regards, and we do hope that you will join us in June in the DRC, where you will get a chance to work with him directly. Is Lord Lister here? Has he arrived? Lord Lister? We are hoping to see him later, and His Excellency the Ambassador is on his way. So I think for the moment, we would love and be honored if Baroness Verma would give us her words, if you would share your words with us and give us your thoughts about this event and how much you have, and also I really appreciated the words you had yesterday about younger generations, higher education, human capital. I think you have a very powerful position in this partnership. So we would love to hear from you. Please welcome Honorable Baroness.
Good morning, everyone. These were always made for tall people. And I'm just hoping that you can actually see the top of my face, at least. Your Excellencies, investors, diaspora community, so important to this debate here today. It's a great pleasure, actually, Madeleine, to be welcomed by you. Thank you so very much for your kind words. Today, actually, is the start of a conversation. And I think this conversation is about a reality check on what do we really want. It's not about the platitudes that we all come together, that we have some nice conversations and then nothing happens. What we need to be able to do is to actually transform what those discussions look like today and how then we take them and make them into reality. And this morning has been an interesting one for me because, you know, sitting with Kyle from Vodafone and Vodacash, we've explored ideas already that I'm hoping that outside of this room, we will work on together to try and make some of those things at least start a journey of a conversation in the DRC. You saw the promotional video. How many people actually know that that is possible? Because we don't talk about the upsides of countries like the DRC. We always focus on the problems. And of course, the problems will always remain until we get real investment into countries where using that human capital is absolutely critical. And so one of the things that I'd like three things to come out of today's event, if I may be indulged. One is a predictability of the environment of DRC through a government lens. So if the government works with business and investors and says that we are going to give you this environment for the next decade, nothing will change whatever happens politically. Investors will actually be confident to go and put their money there. So we need that long-term predictability. But alongside the predictability, we need to have some really strong incentives to be able to ensure that businesses who have got opportunities anywhere on the planet actually go to that country to be able to invest. So predictability and the incentives are key for business. But on the other side of that is what is in it for the people of DRC. And that, of course, is let's get the skills agenda going. Let's get those young people who are so critical to the growth of an economy engaged in meaningful dialogue. So whether it is digital, whether it is agricultural, because agriculture plays a big part along the continent, let's make sure that everybody has a win out of this. And the third thing I would really focus on is how do we engage with two groups of people. One is the diaspora of the UK, and secondly, government. The UK government and the UK political parties need to be educated in having a relationship that is beyond just a transactional relationship. It is actually a people-to-people building up a relationship that means in the long term that when there are issues and problems, we face them together. And I'm really, really pleased that we have a former ambassador here today from the DRC who knows the DRC incredibly well. And I do hope that when you've got a moment, please go and home in on him, because he will see the ups and the downs of investment in the DRC. I'm sorry, Tim, I put you on the spot, but hey, there you go, it's my job too. But I think for somebody who has been in the continent of Africa for about a decade now, what I see is opportunities, and I also see the need for those opportunities to be maximized. And that means the economies like the UK benefit, because British business benefits, but it also means that those countries benefit, and DRC has got such an opportunity environment ready for the taking if only we can get all the alignments made. And therefore, part of the issues that we will see, and that's why I'm working with Lord Lister, and it's great to work with Lord Lister, because we can then be the facilitators for some of those difficult, challenging conversations. So it's a really exciting time. I hope my three things will be materialized. And I'm really keen, and I've worked closely with Jean. He knows I'm a very straight talker. I say it as I see it. And if there's a problem, I think as a critical friend, we need to say it. But we also need to be able to address some of the issues, like the visa issues, and find solutions for that. And I'm pretty certain that the more we do together, the more we're able to iron these things out. And the final thing I'll say is it's great to sit next to my colleague Mark Simmons, who's also very familiar with the landscape of the DRC. And again, let's benefit from what they're doing, because they are the investor groups. They're the people who want to take companies to invest. And let's find ways of how we develop partnerships, because that's the only way you deliver, is through strong, reliable, trusting partnerships. And I think for all the downsides of anywhere, I always say there are many, many more upsides, because the people of those countries, particularly the people of the DRC, are looking for a leadership with vision. The vision needs to deliver, and we can help deliver it. Thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you so much. I can't think of a better way to open this event. We're very honored for your words, your thoughts, your support for this initiative and for the DRC. Next, we will pass directly on to the first panel discussion, so I think we're going to be able to catch up a bit of the lost time. We will try to keep time today, which is always challenging during events with so many brilliant speakers, but we will try to keep time today. I think I will pass on to the panel discussion 1, which is a presentation of bankable projects and financing opportunities. The objective of this panel is to present investment-ready projects and clarify structured financing pathways. I am absolutely delighted to introduce our chairperson for this panel, which is our Jacqueline Onallo, who you saw briefly earlier. Jacqueline Onallo is a distinguished human rights lawyer, a founder of Jolt International, where she delivers expert leadership development to global organizations such as Bosch, UNICEF, and the NHS. She is a dual qualified solicitor and an RSA fellow. She serves as trustee for Comic Relief and advises the African Business Chamber, focusing on inclusive leadership and UK-Africa trade. She is an angel investor and champions inclusion of Black communities in venture capital. As a lecturing fellow at Queen Mary University of London, Jacqueline Onallo specializes in advocacy, intervention, and change, which also covers political lobbying. She is both corporate and nonprofit sector specialist. Her commitment to social impact is further demonstrated through her work as an angel investor, championing innovation and equity in leadership. I would be delighted to welcome Jacqueline to the stage, and she can bring her distinguished guests onto the stage as well.
Thank you, Madeleine, for that generous introduction. It is my pleasure to bring onto the stage 4 distinguished panelists. I will give a brief bio and then ask you to very kindly join me on stage, and you can sit wherever you like. We already heard from Baroness Sandip Varma, and I've known Baroness Varma for a very long time. She's a great champion within the African diaspora community, hosting events at Parliament and supporting us with political lobbying. But I won't go too much into that. We can catch up over the coffee break. So Baroness Sandip Varma is a distinguished parliamentarian and a business leader who currently serves the vice chair of the Uk-Drc Business Partnership Consortium. She seeks to spearhead high-level trade and investment initiatives between DRC and the United Kingdom. She's a former Minister of International Development and for Energy and Climate Change. She brings decades of experience in bridging the gap between government, policy, private sector growth across emerging markets such as the DRC. She's dedicated to sustainable development and gender equity. Yesterday, she made some interesting and useful remarks at the networking session. She says, for 30 years, she has been saying that Africa will save the world, owing to its resources. And as she has said this morning, it's time to actualize that. What we need to do, and I'm just quoting you, is to change the narrative to be able to attract investments and therefore development. And so today we'll spend some time looking at the challenges, but crucially, how to overcome them. Baroness Varma, please welcome onto the panel. I have a height advantage owing to the 6 inches that I'm wearing, so I trust that everybody can see me as well. Next on the panel, we have Mr. Halil Al-Americano. He is CEO of Vodacom DRC. And thank you so much for joining us late yesterday evening after arriving yesterday. Halil is the CEO of Vodacom DRC and brings 25 years of international expertise in telecommunications and financial services to this particular role. He's a civil engineer by training, so therefore we should always pivot to where we can make significant change. He has successfully transitioned the company into a leading technology firm, serving over 24 million customers in DRC. Under his leadership, there's been significant advancements in rural connectivity, green energy, and expansion of M-Pesa. And last night he told us that we have over 10 million M-Pesa users in DRC. Now, I must mention that M-Pesa began in Kenya and by a young person. We've heard about the potential of young people, so I hope that we're able to harness the potential of innovation. It was very heartening to hear you mention the plight of Eastern Congo, because whilst we're here and Lord Poppet says, show us the money, we must also remember the challenges and how we seek to mitigate that. And whilst we're at it, I'm doing a lot of borrowing, because when people say excellent things, you don't have to say anything over and above that. Congratulations to DRC. We look forward to seeing you at the World Cup. Halil, please welcome onto the panel. Next, we have Ik van Kruingen, Director at Strand Ventures. Just making sure that we have the speaker with us this morning. Yes, excellent. Good to meet you, sir. We should have spoken earlier on. Thank you so much. So as I said, the Strand Hansen Bank specializes in emerging markets, corporate finance, oil and gas advisory, and project financing. It plays a key role in Strand Hansen's advisory on transactions across 28 African countries, connecting major external funders with projects and facilitating over £5 billion of deals in the past 5 years. It's a pleasure to welcome you onto this first panel. Thank you very much. I was just checking for pronunciation. I have a very mixed accent, Kenyan, British, and everybody I've interacted with. If I mispronounce anybody's name, please put me right. Thank you very much. Next on the panel, we have Damien Lacombe. Is Damien here with us? Good morning, sir. Welcome. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. He's the Vice President of Global Business Development at DINS International, where he manages complex supply chain ecosystems for the mining and infrastructure sectors across DRC. Leveraging strategic partnerships with the UK Export Finance, he has successfully integrated British manufacturing into high-impact African projects, championing a model of transparent, sustainable procurement that aligns with Congolese mineral wealth with international ESG standards. Damien, welcome to the panel. Just checking that our mics are working. We'll be doing pass the mic along. So if you don't have a mic, we'll pass it to you during the session. Barnes Varma, from your perspective, where do you see the most immediate and impactful opportunities for UK business in the DRC?
Well, thank you so very much for that question. Actually, I think what we need to do is to see what the DRC wants. I think it's going to be impactful if we respond to what the people of DRC want. So whether it's investment in upskilling in agriculture, the cold storage piece, because a lot of wastage happens because there is not proper cold storage for produce being produced on farms, for the fact that we need to make sure that, from my perspective, we are in renewable energy, is to see how renewable energy can be a force for good, given where the DRC is, and the availability of free sunlight. So I think there is a lot of things that you can do, but I always start with there's a starting point for me always is, what does the country want? What do the people want? And what is the vision of the leader of the country of the time? And how do we help facilitate that vision? So I think that's where my starting point would be.
Thank you very much, Baroness. And that's really good. What does DRC want? We're in a room full of the Congolese, and I think last night we had about the presidential vision, which was to alleviate poverty and have sustainable development. And so I look forward to hearing, not just from the panel, but also from the audience with that key thing. What does DRC want? What does DRC need? Mr. Halil. Vodacom has played a transformative role in digital connectivity. How can telecommunications and digital services accelerate financial inclusion and therefore industrial growth in DRC?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for hosting me in this beautiful context. So the telecommunication industries have started in Africa close to 30 years ago, and we have seen its contribution to inclusion in general, but we have seen leapfrogging in technology. Most of Africa 30 years ago didn't have landline phones. So we went from no phones directly to mobile phones. What is happening today is similar in the area of financial services. We're moving from no financial services, no banking, to inclusion into the financial services, starting from the very basics of transfers of money all the way to credit scoring, lending money to small and medium enterprise. And hopefully we will be climbing the ladder of financial inclusion much faster, using the same approach of what telecommunication have done in the past, but now for connectivity, digital inclusion, and financial services. The other very, very important thing that we've seen the telecommunication companies contributing to in Africa in general, and DRC in particular, is upskilling people. I meet, so one of my friends here sitting on the table, we worked together a long time ago, in my previous life in DRC, and I am so glad to see him today working in the diaspora and bringing value to where he lives. And that started with telecommunication. We have built generations of engineers, of financial people, of tech people. And today, when we look at how fast the new generation is moving with fintechs and startups, our role is to be that backbone between the rural that still doesn't have a basic 2G phone and the very advanced world of the fintechs working with artificial intelligence, handling cybersecurity. So the role of telecommunication and technology companies like us in Africa is making that link between two different worlds. Some of them are still in the past because of that lack of connectivity, and some of them are already in the future developing, as we speak, some very advanced and probably game-changing applications somewhere. So this is how we humbly can contribute to basically moving Africa forward, like we've been doing for the past almost 3 decades.
Thank you very much. It is good to hear that the focus is not just on technology, digital, and connectivity, but crucially, real leaders create new leaders. And therefore, to hear that you've been upskilling the population, which creates sustainability, is really encouraging. And I suppose that goes to others who are seeking to invest in DRC. When you do this, focus on your industry, but also focus on sustainability. How can you support the future leaders, the future innovators within DRC? Thank you very much. Mr. Eek van Krugen, from a global investor's perspective, what specific indicators most strongly influence confidence in emerging markets such as DRC? To speak in simple venture capital terms, how can DRC build conviction?
No, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I think for most of the venture capital money, most of the investment, it's a question of how easy can I deploy my capital into the country, how effectively that capital can be deployed, and then how at some point in the future can I extract that capital effectively and efficiently with the full knowledge that my investment is protected by international law. And I think that is a very critical element. At the same time, obviously, in country, and in particular in DRC, we've seen this in the minerals, there's huge amounts of wealth there within that resource. It needs to be extracted efficiently, effectively, but also in such a way as not to destroy the local environment. But then improve benefication in country, because that's the key thing here, is that that's how you create jobs, that's how you create wealth, that's how you create tax for the government as well. So it's about effectively deploying the capital in country in projects and then making sure more of that added value is retained within country. And for someone like DRC, you should be actually doing more manufacturing in country so you can then export to Europe, to North America under the free trade agreements. Because the thing is that you have a huge advantage right now in terms of labor costs versus China and India. And they should be exploiting that and actually creating jobs, wealth and employment in country. And that's where a lot of people miss. I think too many people just think, invest in resources, get the resources out as quickly and cheaply as I can and not worry. And I think that has changed. And we're seeing a lot of change in the market. But in a nutshell, that's what we need to see, just an efficient legal framework with international rules and actually a steady state. Because the one thing we don't like is having the government rules changing every 12 months or every 24 months. We need to know that because obviously for us, we're deploying cash for 5, 10 years at a time. We need to understand that actually once we've deployed our cash, everything doesn't change in 12 months' time. That's a complete annoyance to us in polite terms.
Thank you very much. So investors don't just want to bring their capital investment, but they have to be sure that they can get their profits in a timely manner. For those who come from Africa, not just DRC, we know how this can be a significant challenge to investment. It's good to hear that it's not just about the investment there, but also about creating value at source, which I think is becoming a common theme within this panel. And so whilst we are bringing investment, we're extracting value for ourselves, what can we leave within our DRC? And the big question about stability in government. So for the government officials here, you've had what needs to be done in terms of some of the key things in attracting investment. Thank you very much. Damien, based on your experience of integrating British manufacturing into high-impact African projects, what do you deem as the key criteria to use to identify investment-ready projects in DRC? And how can we ensure that this then align with international ESG standards?
Okay, thank you for having me. So, really good question. So we as DINS International, we focus on African companies. We focus on making sure that they have the access to finance they need to grow. This is really important because we really focus on the local companies. These can be small, these can be slightly bigger, but we try and are quite successful in arranging financing for these companies with ticket sizes between 2 and, well, let's say everything below 50 million. Often this is difficult for these local companies to get that financing themselves. There's a lot of work to do, there is a lot of paperwork that needs to be done, a lot of, it's a big ecosystem that they need to manage, and often they don't succeed. That's where we help. We, to make sure that this is a successful process, the local company needs to be really engaged. We really need partners and companies that are willing to grow, that have a good project in front of them, that they simply need the cash to make it happen. And we are, through ECA financing, helping them to get the access at very competitive rates. We often see that companies who have a really good idea, that are really engaged and that are really looking for the financing to help them grow, that they end up with very expensive local financing with really high interest rates, and that's what we try to improve, to make sure that these companies have the access to competitive financing. Now, for us to be able to do that, it's really important that they have a good plan. We don't need a lot of details to do the analysis, and we talk about a pre-screening, let's say. To do that, we simply need a project summary. We would need the last 3 years of audited financials, and we basically need to understand what they will use the financing for. So usually, as mentioned, we are working with UKF a lot. So UKF, assume we all know who they are, and it's the British ECA, the British Export Credit Agency. And we try to, well, we smoothen the way and we make it convenient for these customers to have access through the ECA. What makes it interesting and what really helps is that the British government is actually providing a guarantee to the loan that we arrange for the customer. So that makes banks or investors more keen to participate because it reduces the risk quite significantly. So, as mentioned, it's really important that we help the African, and in this case the Congolese companies, to support them with the financing they need to make happen their projects.
Thank you very much. We all know that bureaucracy can kill good ideas. So it's good to hear that you have simplified the vetting system so that people then don't get put off by pages and pages of vetting to go through. Crucial, as you mentioned, credibility and good projects will get your support. And again, here we hear about this partnership of public and private, whereby competitive rates, which are guaranteed by the government here, which is really, really useful. Thank you for sharing that. So if you're credible, you've got a good project, then you know who to speak to on the panel. I'm already being warned about time. I had a lot of other questions, but perhaps I will limit myself to one question. This question will be to all the panelists. And then with Madeleine's indulgence, maybe one or two very brief questions from the floor. So it would be remiss of me as a human rights lawyer not to mention the human rights challenges that are present in Eastern DRC. And so my question, I'll keep it really simple. How can we as investors, policymakers, etc., engage with DRC in a way that supports human rights, ethical supply chains, and sustainable development, rather than perpetuating the great harm that we see that endures in DRC today? And I'll open that to all the panelists.
So our responsibility as a foreign investment is to make sure that in everything that we build, this is part of what we do. It's not easy because we have a country, DRC, that is the size of the continent. We have areas where we have an ongoing war there for 3 decades. We have seen horrific use of mass rapes as a war, shall I say tool? I don't know what's the right, so weapon. We have seen massive displacements of population. So a company like ours have been working now with our foundation to try to alleviate as much as we can. So we had programs that one of them was called Alerte Rouge, which was supporting the communities in the East. We have worked with the UN organization also to provide shelter for people. Some of them got invaded by the rebels, unfortunately. We have also helped in other crises like the volcano crisis that we had. But the approach is always, every time we do something, and humbly, because we have to keep that humility in the impact that we can do, humbly try to see how we can ensure that our populations get access to basics. So sometimes it's very simple things like temporary housing. It's like instant schools, just for the kids to be able to stay connected with education, because we know the very heavy toll that countries pay when it comes to lack of education. We lose generations, actually. And also, and for me, it's one of my my focus area is protecting and development of women and women independence. For those of you who have lived in Africa, we know the importance worldwide, but even more importantly, of women in the society. So making sure that we can give them education about financials. Of course, we start with the Maslow pyramid of safety, food, health, but also beyond that, giving them financial inclusion so that they can start businesses. And we know that when a woman starts her business, the ripple effect is on the children, it's on the community, it's on the family. So a woman is a chief of a village when she's given the power to change things. So for us, that's a very, very important thing. And the other part is beyond managing the crisis, what can we do in a sustainable way? For me, education is key. Making sure that we can still send children to schools and come up with new ways of educating. Digital schools, building digital classes. We provide connectivity, we provide free content. Of course, children need to be safe, they need to eat, they need to be healthy. And then the next Maslow pyramid is education. How can we keep contributing to education? And that will link up again to your question. That is the foundation, the long-term foundation of human rights. Access to the basics, access to education, and then the next one is financial services. Once we give financial services, we help developing communities, and we cannot only rely on external help for